A recent catch in the St. Johns River may tell us about changes that are happening on a global scale. Here to discuss their recent discovery and its implications, we're joined by Dr. Brian Franks, Associate Professor of Biology at Jacksonville University. Good morning, Dr. Franks.
Good morning, Ann.
We're also joined by Vinny Migliore Jr.
Good morning.
Good morning. He's a marine science graduate student at Jacksonville University. Thanks for being here, Vinny.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right. So, Dr. Franks, bull sharks aren't exactly a new finding in the St. Johns River. What makes this recent catch significant in your mind?
Yeah, for sure. So, we had heard about bull sharks being caught in the St. Johns. We've seen photos of catches in the St. Johns. So we knew they were here. But the big question is, in what numbers, where in the river they're located, how are they using the river? So we decided to design a scientific study to systematically sample the river in some locations where we knew there had been reports of them in the past, to see if we could catch them, and then, put some tags on them, and then do it over a period of time where we can get an assessment of the seasonality of their use in the river. Are they here all the time or only in particular years? Are they using it as a nursery area as well? So we decided to scientifically try to study this population. And this catch is important because it's really the first one of that study.
And so this catch was near the Buckman, and it was a baby shark. It was had some signs that it might have been a fairly recent birth. And I mean, what's the significance of finding a shark at a very young age that far upriver? What does that tell you?
Yeah, so first off, bull sharks are a species that give birth to live young. So when the mother gives birth, they come out alive. So they're gestating in the mother for a period of time. And they're also a species that the scientific term is placental viviparity, which basically means the pups are born with a little umbilicus attached. That umbilicus breaks off and leaves a little small wound that closes over a relatively short period of time. So if you catch one of these little sharks and you see that wound is either still open or has recently closed, you know that animal was likely born within the past couple of months. And that's significant because that tells you that this animal was likely born. They don't really travel, at least that species, too far once they're born. So it's likely that shark was born somewhere in the river.
And folks who are watching our live stream right now can see some of the pictures. We were just a minute ago watching Vinny holding this shark, and you could kind of see that umbilical scar. So you caught a baby shark with a belly button. First of all, what did it mean to you when you caught that? What did it tell you?
It told us that there are bull sharks in the St. Johns. I was ecstatic when we pulled in. We saw it in our long line. The team and I were, like I said, I don't think the boat was quiet for the next 5 or 10 minutes. It was very exciting, and to see that umbilical scar on the individual was just lovely. It was just incredible.
Yeah. And so you obviously took some pictures. You've got some additional work to do, though. I mean, you bought this, you found this on June 9th. You want to do some additional sampling. How often are you able to get out on the river?
Absolutely. So we get out to 3 different locations in the St. Johns 3 times a month. And we're consistently sampling each month, those same sites, and looking for these bull sharks.
All right. And so I guess big picture, this is a species that is adaptive. It can tolerate warmer water. It can tolerate higher salinity levels or lower salinity levels. It's a fairly flexible creature. So what does it tell you about the river conditions?
Yeah, and I mean, I know bull sharks have been utilizing the river for a period of time. And the big question that we have is how many are using it? But the fact that they are still using it shows you that at least the river is still sustaining that population. And I think it's very important to note that these bull sharks do have a unique physiology where they can move, at least once they get a little bit older, they can move between salt water, pure 35 parts per thousand salinity, all the way down to pure fresh water. Now, they do prefer for their nursery areas to be more in that brackish water, which is likely why we see them in the river and fairly far upriver as well. I believe the salinity when Vinny and his team made that capture was single digits,
Wow.
around 5 parts per 1,000. But it shows us that at least the river is still sustaining this population.
Well, if you're just joining us, I've been talking to Dr. Brian Franks. He's a biology professor at Jacksonville University and marine science graduate student Vinny Migliore. He was one of the researchers that made a recent discovery of a baby bull shark in the St. Johns River. Vinny, why did you choose this research project in the first place?
Well, coming down to Jacksonville, I've always wanted to work with sharks. I was always fascinated as a young age, and getting the chance to work with Dr. Franks and hearing about the recent reports from fishermen about bull sharks being caught in the St. Johns River was just perfect. And the fact that we were able to start studying them and seeing them in the river was just kind of what led me to do it. But it was a lot of the anecdotic evidence and the fishing reports that led me this way.
Yeah. And Dr. Franks, sharks are often considered kind of an indicator species of ocean health.
Mhm.
And very often when we have a robust population of sharks, we consider that ocean ecosystem as stable or doing well. But that may not be necessarily the same kind of indicator when you find a bull shark in the St. Johns River. That might tell us something about the river's health that maybe isn't good news. Can you kind of explain what it might tell us about either warming waters or increasing salinity levels in the river?
Yeah, so bull sharks actually are a fairly warm water species, subtropical to tropical species. So I do think Florida is kind of a natural habitat for them. And as I mentioned, they prefer, at least for their nursery areas, this brackish water. So if we do see, saltwater intrusion into the estuaries, we may actually see these bull sharks move further upriver to try to find some more of that freshwater mix. But ultimately, if the river is sustaining a population, um, even though it might be a small one, it does show that at least parts of the river are remaining healthy enough to sustain the population for the foreseeable future. There has been other research in other areas that seem to show bull shark nurseries are maybe shifting north at higher latitudes, and that may be due to some warming waters. So, particularly in North Carolina, one of my colleagues did a study where there had not been bull shark nurseries in these areas of North Carolina, where now there are. And it may suggest a shift of the population north, which we are seeing in a lot of marine life as oceans warm.
And so, I know that the Gulf has also seen a increase in the presence of bull sharks, also because of temperature and salinity. And so, bull sharks seem to be a species that, in a warming planet, actually are in some ways perhaps benefiting from those changes. And so they could be. Their numbers could increase. We could see, them thriving in that environment. But I would guess that there's also a point at which, if they're doing well, that they could, deplete the fish population or perhaps, see encounter, problems in other ways that would harm the species. Can you kind of forecast what those possibilities might look like?
I mean, for the St. John's that I've been studying, I don't think it's going to be a huge issue based on, again, we were talking a little bit before about not seeing them in huge numbers, but for as the nurseries moving up further coast into the South Carolinas, it could be an issue. But I believe that more studies should be done first before any answers or any before we can come up with stuff like that.
What about the fact that they're just considered sort of, they're intensive predators. Um, Fishermen don't always love them because they have a tendency to snatch, fish off the line. But there's also people who are concerned just about encounters with sharks. And bull sharks are known to be more aggressive.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it is important to make note that sharks, if you see one, it's actually reflective of a healthy ecosystem. Sharks are a natural part of our ecosystems, and we've actually done a pretty good job of protecting these species. So I think it is important to note that when you see one, it's actually reflective that your water body may be healthy as opposed to depleted. But yes, I understand shark depredation, which is, fishermen and women getting their catches taken by sharks is something that we seem to be seeing a little bit more of. But I think that's because we have healthier shark populations. And I think it's this idea of shifting baselines where, 100 years ago, that was very common. I lived in the Bahamas where there was a lot of tuna and marlin fishing. And if you look at those old photos, every fish was taken by sharks.
Oh.
It's natural, I guess.
Well, Dr. Brian Franks and Vinny Migliore, thanks so much for being here today. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
All right.